All right, so ready to dive into something electrifying.
Sounds exciting. Let's do it.
We're talking about prepping for an electric power generation engineer interview. You're stepping into a field that's, well, powering our future, and we're here to make sure you really stand out. We've got a bunch of resources from RoleCatcher to help guide us, their career guide, sample interview questions, and even some cool info on how their AI can help you tailor your answers. So,
Yeah, it's a really fascinating field. And, especially now with the shift towards renewable energy sources,
right.
it's rapidly changing and evolving. And, these engineers are the ones who design and develop all the systems that generate electricity. Everything from those traditional power plants to the cutting edge renewable energy systems.
Exactly. They're the ones making sure our lights stay on, our devices keep running. But before we get too deep into the technical stuff, RoleCatcher's career guide actually highlights something I thought was pretty interesting. They really emphasize soft skills.
Oh, absolutely.
They actually say that communication and teamwork are just as crucial as technical expertise, which I think is a really good point.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You're going to be working with these diverse teams on these large scale projects. So being able to clearly articulate your ideas, collaborate effectively, super important.
So important. And that brings us to, I guess, the main event, right? The interview itself.
Mhm.
RoleCatcher has provided a bunch of sample questions. I think we should just jump right into those.
Yeah.
So they often start with a classic. What sparked your interest in this field?
Seems simple, but
Right.
it's a golden opportunity to show them, your passion, what motivates you. So think back, you know, what really got you interested in this field? Was it like a fascination with how electricity works or, a desire to contribute to a sustainable future? Maybe you had like a mentor who inspired you.
Yeah, definitely. Share something specific, right?
Hmm.
Like a story or an anecdote, something that shows it's genuine and that you're not just saying, the typical answers. And be ready for follow-up questions, too. They might ask, like, how has that interest evolved? Or how do you see your passion influencing your work?
Yeah, that's where you can really connect the dots.
Exactly.
Connect that initial spark to your skills now and your career goals. You could say something like, that early fascination with renewable energy led me to take, some specialized courses in solar power systems, and now I'm so eager to apply that to real world projects.
That's a perfect example, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, let's get a little bit more technical. RoleCatcher points out that they'll probably ask you to describe your experience with power plant design and operation.
Time to show off those technical skills.
Yeah.
Be specific here. Mention the projects you've actually worked on, the types of power plants you're familiar with, the software you've used. Don't just say, I have experience, like quantify it. What did you achieve? Did you improve efficiency or reduce downtime?
Well, definitely. And be ready for those follow-ups here, too.
Yeah.
They might ask about, like, specific challenges you faced during a project or how you applied a particular engineering principle. For example, they could say, describe a time you had to troubleshoot a problem in a power plant. Like, what steps did you take?
Exactly. They want to see those problem-solving skills, how you think, and you know what? RoleCatcher's AI, this is where it can be super helpful.
Oh, yeah, tell me about this.
So it actually analyzes the job description and picks out the keywords they're looking for.
Okay.
So for example, if the job description, emphasizes renewable energy integration or smart grid technologies, the AI is going to be like, hey, remember to mention, your expertise in wind turbine design.
That's amazing. So it's like a little coach just whispering in your ear.
Totally. Like, don't forget this.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to regulatory compliance.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher highlights this question. It comes up often. How do you ensure compliance with regulatory requirements in power generation?
So this is where you prove you're a pro. Show them you're serious about the details. Mention specific regulations and how you followed them, like in your past work. For example, you could say, in my last role, I was responsible for making sure we followed the EPA's Clean Air Act. So I did regular emissions monitoring and implemented strategies to make sure we had a minimal environmental impact.
Yeah, be ready for those follow-ups too. Can you describe a situation where you had to navigate a complex regulatory issue, or how do you stay updated on changes in regulations?
Totally. They're testing your knowledge and seeing if you're truly committed to staying current. So you could talk about like specific journals you read, conferences you attend, professional organizations you're a member of.
So it all comes back to showing them your commitment to this field, your dedication to keep learning.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher's AI can also provide feedback on your answers to refine your message and make sure you're hitting those key points.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like doing a mock interview where you get that personalized feedback to boost your confidence.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, let's get into a question that can be kind of tricky.
Okay.
How do you manage project timelines and budgets in power generation projects? Now, these projects are known for being complex and expensive,
Yeah,
so they want to see if you can handle the pressure.
definitely. So start by laying out your project management approach. Do you use a specific methodology like Agile or Waterfall? What tools do you use for scheduling and budgeting? And the key here is to highlight your experience managing complex projects, especially those with big budgets and those tight deadlines.
And always be ready for those follow-ups. Describe a time you had to make a difficult decision to stay within budget. Or how do you handle unexpected delays or setbacks?
Exactly. It's all about showing them how you problem solve and how you adapt when things change, which they always do. And, showing your experience with like industry specific software, that can be a real advantage. Mention any project management tools or simulation software that's specific to power generation.
Right, if you've worked with software that they use, that's a big plus. It shows you're familiar with their workflows and their challenges.
Sure.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor your answers to highlight those specific software skills if they're mentioned in the job description.
It's all about making those connections, between your experience and what they're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. All right, moving on to a question that's all about keeping things running smoothly. How do you ensure the reliability and availability of power generation equipment?
Yeah, so this is where you really show off your knowledge of preventative maintenance, troubleshooting, your experience in diagnosing and repairing equipment. And think about like specific maintenance schedules you've developed, diagnostic tools you've used, and any like creative solutions you've come up with to make the equipment more reliable.
And of course, be prepared for those follow-up questions.
Hmm.
Can you walk me through your troubleshooting process when a generator has a fault?
Mm.
Or what are your thoughts on like the role of predictive maintenance in power generation?
Mm-hmm. They're looking for, your thought process. Do you understand the technical stuff? Can you think critically about complex systems? And again, be specific. Mention the types of equipment you've worked with, whether it's turbines or generators or transformers or control systems.
Right. More specifics, the better. Instead of
Mhm.
saying, I have experience with turbines, you could say, I have tons of experience maintaining and troubleshooting gas turbines, including GE and Siemens model.
Exactly. Much better.
Yeah, much better. That shows you really know your stuff. And it brings us back to RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, yeah.
It can actually analyze that job description and prompt you to mention those specific equipment types if they're relevant to the role.
It's like your personal research assistant who's done all the homework.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about safety. How do you ensure safety in power generation operations? This is a big one.
Huge. They really want to see that you are committed to creating a safe work environment for yourself and everyone on the team. So really highlight your knowledge of those safety regulations, protocols, best practices.
Yeah, be prepared to talk about specific safety training you've done, hazard assessments you've performed, or safety improvements you've implemented. Have you ever had to, deal with a safety incident?
Mhm.
If so, talk about how you handled that, what steps you took to prevent it from happening again.
Yeah, they're looking for your ability to see risks and prevent them,
Right.
how well you follow those safety protocols, and your commitment to, always improving safety practices.
It's not just talking about it, it's showing you really care about everyone's well-being and that you're proactive.
Absolutely. Safety should always come first in this field. Now, moving on to a question that's super important as things change. How do you stay up to date with the latest technologies and trends in power generation?
This is where you get to show off that you're a lifelong learner.
Absolutely. Talk about conferences you've gone to, industry journals you read, online courses you've taken, or those professional organizations you're part of.
And be specific. Any advancements that have caught your eye. Maybe something in renewable energy or energy storage, smart grid tech, or even like AI applications in power systems.
Definitely.
They want to see that you're passionate about staying ahead of the curve, always seeking out new knowledge and skills.
And, don't be afraid to mention any personal projects you're working on or research you're doing. Shows you take initiative and that you're really interested in pushing the boundaries.
Love that. All right, let's tackle environmental compliance. How do you ensure environmental compliance in power generation operations? Here's where you show that you understand the impact that power generation has on the environment and that you're committed to minimizing that impact.
Yeah, so start by talking about your knowledge of the relevant regulations like the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and any regional or local ones that apply.
And then give some specific examples of projects where you actually had to consider environmental factors. Did you implement emission controls, developed a waste management plan, or maybe you worked on a project that was specifically designed to minimize the impact on local ecosystems?
Yeah, they're looking for that balance, between the need for energy and the need to protect the environment.
Right. And again, the more specific, the better. Like if you've worked with certain environmental monitoring technologies or you've been involved in projects that achieved specific environmental certifications, mention those.
It shows you're not just talking about it, you're doing it.
Exactly. You're walking the walk. Now we're back to RoleCatcher's AI. It can help you weave those details into your answers so you're highlighting the most relevant stuff.
It's like having a personal editor who's making your story super impactful.
Okay, now for a question about risk management, which is huge in any engineering field, but especially power generation because the stakes are really high. How do you manage risks in power generation projects?
Yeah, so here you get to show off those analytical skills and problem-solving skills. Start by outlining your risk management process, like how do you identify potential risks? How do you figure out how likely they are to happen and how bad they'd be? And the most important part, how do you come up with ways to stop them?
Give specific examples from your projects where you successfully managed risks. What were the potential problems and how did you deal with them?
Yeah, and did you use any specific methods or tools for risk assessment? How did you communicate the risks to your team and to stakeholders? And it's good to talk about any backup plans you made just in case things went wrong.
They want to see that you're proactive, that you're not afraid to take on those tough challenges.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can tailor your answers to highlight those specific risk management skills, especially if they're mentioned in the job description.
Always connecting the dots, speaking their language, showing you get what's important to them.
Absolutely. Now, a question that really gets at your leadership potential. Can you describe a time you had to lead a team through a difficult situation?
This is where you show them you can motivate people, delegate tasks effectively, and make tough decisions when things are stressful.
Right. Think of a specific project or a situation where you had to be the leader. Describe what made it difficult, what steps you took to fix it, and what happened in the end. Really highlight your communication skills, your problem solving, and how you were able to inspire your team and guide them to success.
They want to see that you can not only handle your own work, but also be a good leader and motivate others.
And leadership isn't always about having a fancy title.
Right.
It's about taking charge and getting things done, working towards a common goal.
So true. Now, a question to gauge your understanding of the industry. What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities facing the power generation industry in the next 5 years?
This is your chance to show that you really understand the industry, that you're aware of the latest trends, and that you can think strategically about the future.
Think about all the challenges we've talked about. The shift to renewable energy, the need to modernize the grid, energy storage becoming more and more important, and the whole cybersecurity thing.
Yeah, and don't just focus on the problems. Talk about the opportunities they create. This change towards a more sustainable energy future, it's opening up a ton of new possibilities for innovation and growth.
They want to see that you're not only aware of the issues, but that you're also coming up with solutions and that you're excited about what's to come.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to share your own opinions and ideas. They want someone who can think for themselves and bring something new to the table.
Now let's talk about salary, always a tricky topic.
Yeah.
What are your salary expectations? RoleCatcher has some good resources on this.
Do your homework.
Yes.
Use RoleCatcher's salary data to see what other electric power generation engineers in your area are making, especially those with your experience level.
And think about what you bring to the table. Your skills, your experience. Have you worked on any, really challenging or high-profile projects? Do you have any special certifications or skills that are in high demand?
Right. Be ready to justify your salary expectations based on what you bring to the table.
And don't be afraid to negotiate. If their first offer is lower than what you want, it's okay to counter with a higher number, but have good reasons ready.
Exactly. Know your worth and be confident in the value you bring to the company.
Speaking of value, Let's talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you really show off your achievements and make your answers even more impressive.
It's not just about keywords, it's about telling your story.
Yeah.
It analyzes your answers and gives suggestions to make them more specific, quantifiable, and results-oriented.
Give me an example.
So instead of saying, I improved efficiency, you could say, I implemented a new control system that increased efficiency by 10%, which saved the company $50,000 a year.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, those specific results, they make your achievements stand out. And RoleCatcher's AI can also point out places where you might be using too much jargon or technical terms that the interviewer won't understand.
It's just like your personal translator, making sure you're clear and concise.
Exactly.
Love that. All right, let's wrap up this first part of our deep dive with a question that often comes at the end. Do you have any questions for me?
This is your chance to turn the tables and show them you're truly interested. Don't just say no.
Yeah, definitely not.
Come prepared with some good questions that show you've done your research and that you want to learn more.
Yeah, like you could ask about the company culture, their commitment to sustainability, or their plans for the future, or even ask about specific projects the team is working on, or the opportunities for professional development within the company.
Asking questions keeps you engaged in the conversation, and it also gives you more info to help decide if this is the right place for you.
It's a two-way street.
Absolutely. You're checking them out just as much as they're checking you out.
So true. Okay, so before we move on, let's take a moment to think about what we've covered so far. We've talked about the importance of those soft skills, dived into a bunch of sample interview questions, and explored how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a real advantage.
But the most important thing is, be prepared, be confident, and be yourself. Let your passion for power generation shine through, and you'll totally nail that interview.
I love that. All right, we'll be right back with more, so stay tuned.
So yeah, it's all about showing them what you know, and you know how excited you are about this in a way that they'll really get. They're not just looking for someone who can do the job. They want someone who really loves it.
So we've covered a lot of the tough technical questions, but what about those softer skills that we talked about? They're just as important, right?
Oh, for sure.
RoleCatcher's career guide really stresses how important communication, teamwork, and problem-solving skills are in this field.
Yeah, those are the skills that will help you work well with others and handle those tricky challenges that come up on power generation projects.
And they often try to figure out if you have those skills by asking behavioral interview questions. Like, can you tell me about a time you had to work as part of a team to solve a complex problem?
Classic.
Right.
It's your time to shine. Show them how well you work in a team and how well you communicate. Think about a specific project where you had to collaborate with others to get past a challenge.
So describe the problem, what your role was on the team, the approach you took, and what the outcome was. Really highlight how you listened to others, communicated your ideas clearly, and worked together to achieve that common goal.
And be ready for those follow-up questions like, what were the biggest challenges you faced as a team? Or, how did you handle disagreements within the team?
Yeah, they're trying to see how well you resolve conflicts and how you deal with different personalities and work styles.
And it's okay to talk about the times things didn't go perfectly.
Right.
It shows that you're self-aware and you learn from your mistakes.
Okay, let's talk about certifications. Those can really set you apart from other candidates. RoleCatcher mentions a few key ones: the Professional Engineer License, the Certified Energy Manager, and the Project Management Professional.
Those certifications show that you're dedicated to your professional development and that you're an expert in specific areas.
And they can really make a difference when you're interviewing, especially if they match what the job requires.
Definitely, if you have any relevant certifications, put them on your resume and bring them up during the interview.
And even if you don't have those specific certifications, you can still show them that you're committed to learning by talking about courses you've taken, conferences you've attended, or professional organizations you're a member of.
It's all about proving that you're keeping up with the latest advancements and that you're invested in your own growth.
Speaking of advancements, we've got to talk about the shift towards renewable energy. RoleCatcher says this is a big trend in the industry, so you definitely want to be ready to talk about it in your interview.
It's so important to show that you understand renewable energy technologies like solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. Be prepared to discuss their pros and cons and how they're changing the future of power generation.
And be ready for questions like, what do you think about the future of renewable energy? Or, what are the toughest challenges to integrating renewable energy into the existing grid?
They want to see that you know what's going on and that you're really thinking about the challenges and opportunities that come with this transition to a more sustainable energy future.
Now let's be real for a minute. RoleCatcher is pretty upfront about the good and the bad of this career path.
Yeah, the good stuff is pretty tempting. There's a high demand for electric power generation engineers. The potential to earn a good salary is definitely there, and you get to work on projects that have a real impact on the world.
But they also point out they can be tough, long hours, a lot of pressure, and you constantly have to stay updated on all the new technologies that are always popping up. So you got to weigh those things and make sure this career really fits with your lifestyle and goals. It's not for everyone, but if you're passionate about power generation and you really want to make a difference, it can be super rewarding.
Totally agree.
And speaking of passion, let's talk about how to show that enthusiasm during your interview. RoleCatcher says it's not just about answering the questions, it's about connecting with the interviewer and letting your personality come through.
Make a connection. Be yourself, be enthusiastic, and be genuine.
And don't be shy about asking your own questions.
Yeah, it shows that you're curious, you're engaged, you really care about the opportunity.
Asking good questions can really make you stand out,
Right.
and it gives you a chance to gather more information to make sure this is the right fit for you.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune those answers and make them even better.
All right.
It's not just about picking out keywords. It's about understanding how language works and what the interviewer is really asking. It can help you give answers that are informative, but also persuasive and engaging.
Like if they ask you about your experience with power plant design and operation, the AI can look at your answer and suggest ways to make it shorter, more specific, and more impactful.
So it might say add some numbers to your answer like, by using a new control system, I was able to increase efficiency by 10%, which saved the company $50,000 a year.
Exactly. Or it might suggest using stronger verbs to highlight what you achieved, like, I led a team of engineers to design and build a new power generation system.
Those tweaks can really make a difference.
Totally.
And the AI can also point out if you're using any technical terms or jargon that the interviewer might not get.
It's like having a coach and an advisor in one, helping you present yourself in the best way possible.
And here's a tip. Don't just rely on the AI for feedback. Have your friends, family, or mentors read your answers too and get their thoughts. The more feedback you get, the better your answers will be.
More feedback, the better. And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you practice your answers, the more confident you'll be during the interview.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to emphasize that preparation is key. And with all the resources RoleCatcher provides, you've got everything you need to succeed. That insightful career guide and those amazing AI-powered interview prep tools.
But it's not just about memorizing answers. It's about understanding the job, thinking about your experiences, and showing off your skills and your passion in a way that the interviewer will connect with.
You want to show them that you're not just qualified, you're excited about the opportunity to be a part of this dynamic and always changing field.
And remember, an interview is your chance to showcase your knowledge, your excitement, and your potential. Be confident, be prepared, be yourself, and you'll totally rock that interview.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about, well, you. What are your career goals? RoleCatcher has this really cool section on specializations within this field, electric power generation engineer. It's kind of like picking your energy superpower.
Yeah, I like that. So, do you see yourself specializing in like renewable energy systems? Or maybe you're more into optimizing those traditional power plants, or perhaps focusing on those transmission and distribution networks, the ones that bring power to our homes and businesses.
It's not just a job title. It's about finding that niche, right, within this huge field.
Yeah.
And I think thinking about your specialization can really help you when you're answering those interview questions.
Oh, for sure.
Because it shows the interviewer that you've really thought about your future.
You're showing them that you've got a plan and how you fit into their big picture.
Exactly, yeah, connecting the dots. All right, let's rewind a bit and talk about how you even get to that interview in the first place.
Yeah.
Education is key, right?
Definitely.
RoleCatcher lays out the typical requirements for aspiring electric power generation engineers.
Yeah, they really emphasize having that strong foundation in electrical engineering. Usually it starts with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, but they also say that related degrees can open doors, like power systems engineering, renewable energy engineering, even environmental engineering.
It's good to know there are different paths.
Yeah.
Not just one way to get there. And RoleCatcher reminds us that learning doesn't stop with a degree.
Oh, absolutely not. Continuing education, so vital in this field. Technology is constantly changing, new regulations, the energy landscape always evolving. You got to stay current to really succeed.
So how do you do that?
Right.
RoleCatcher suggests a few things: attending workshops, seminars, reading those industry journals, online courses, even going to conferences.
Yeah, it's like building your own personal power grid of knowledge.
Yeah.
Drawing from different sources to stay energized and in the know.
I love that. Okay, they also highlight networking. Joining those professional organizations, like the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE, that can connect you with experts and keep you updated on the latest trends.
Yeah, tapping into the collective wisdom of the field and building relationships with the people who are shaping the future of power generation.
All right, so let's recap what we've talked about in this deep dive. We've covered what electric power generation engineers actually do, why their work is so important, what their work environment's like, those exciting industry trends, all that stuff.
Yeah, we tackled those tough interview questions, talked about those key certifications that can give you a real leg up, and even explored how RoleCatcher's AI can help you ace that interview.
But I think beyond all the technical stuff and the interview prep, there's something even more important to remember. This is a field where you can make a real difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Electric power generation engineers are literally powering the world.
Keeping our lights on, our homes warm, our industries running. And as we shift to a more sustainable energy future, their role is only going to become more important.
So as you're getting ready for that interview, remember, you're not just trying to get a job. You're stepping into a role where you can truly make an impact. Let that passion show, and you'll nail it.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher has even more resources on their platform. Detailed skill guides, salary info, even a database of potential employers.
It's like a one-stop shop for your career. Sign up for a free account, check out those resources, and really take charge of your interview prep. This is your chance to shine, to use your knowledge and enthusiasm to light up the world. Go out there and make those sparks fly.